Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, sitting behind me is my 2016 Mercedes AMG GTS, and I've got some news for you. I've decided to sell it. I've toyed with the idea of selling this for some time now. I think I mentioned it in my current car collection video, but I've finally reached a decision. I bought this car in January 2022 for £64,500, and, well, on paper at least, it was never really me. I mean, it wasn't me for the simple fact that it's flash, brash and obnoxious. There's a whole story behind how and why I bought it. Shall I tell you inside where it's a bit warmer? Come on. I still love the fact that heated seat buttons are up there. I feel like a fighter jet pilot. That's better then. Away from the elements. It's supposed to snow later. So why did I buy this car then? Well, I've mentioned this previously, but the 6 months prior to me buying this car, I'd gone through quite a difficult period. In fact, that's a bit of an understatement. I'm not after sympathy, by the way, but I think... Sounds a bit arrogant, this, doesn't it? I think it would have broken most people. But rather than give up and give in, I thought, you know what? I'm going to turn my life around. No one's going to do it for me. It's something I've got to do myself. So I did just that. I started getting up and going to the gym at 5 AM. I lost 42 pounds. I went from a very chubby, bloated 13 stone 3 to an athletic 10 stone 3. 3 stone gone. And along with some other lifestyle changes, honestly, I felt like a new man. I felt like I'd been born again. I just felt alive. I felt happier and healthier. After years of neglecting myself, I was finally happy that I was starting to look after myself again. It was also at this period that all my businesses started to do quite well, so that gave me a bit of a confidence boost, which was much needed. This isn't something that most of you know about me, but I'm not the most confident of guys. I've always had quite a low self-esteem. It's annoying really, because I know I'm a good guy. I know I'm a decent, hard-working, semi-successful guy, but I've always had a really low opinion of myself. I am slowly working on this, by the way. It is improving, but it's a bit of a long road. This is why I always get confused when I read negative comments about myself. I know I shouldn't beat myself up because this is the internet and that's what it's like. But when I read comments from people saying that I'm smug or arrogant, anyone who knows me knows that that isn't me at all. Anyway, take it on the chin, I suppose. You know, I put myself in the firing line. I've got to take some criticism, haven't I? Even if it's not right or just. Welcome to the world of the internet, guys, and keyboard warriors and trolls. Speaking of which, I need to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark. Now, if you haven't heard of Surfshark, they're a VPN service provider. If you want to protect yourself while you're online, whether that's doing online banking or online shopping, then you must check out Surfshark. It protects all your data and your details, and it even hides your IP address so cyber thieves can't see it. In addition to that, it blocks malware, phishing, ads, and other kinds of nastiness, which in turn can speed up your bandwidth and make your device run much more smoothly. The very last thing I need in my life right now is to have my credit card details stolen or my bank account hacked into. But since I've been using Surfshark, it just hasn't happened. Another good thing about Surfshark is you can use it to change your location settings. You know, sometimes you want to watch a film or TV show that isn't available in your country. Well, using Surfshark, you can change your location so that it thinks you are in that country. Then all of a sudden, you can watch it. Everything you've been missing suddenly becomes available. It's very clever. You can download the app very easily from the App Store, and you can use it on an unlimited number of devices. It's cheap and easy to use. We're all online a huge amount of time these days, and you just don't know how much information you're putting out there, so it's better to stay protected. Especially if you frequently use public Wi-Fi spots, such as at pubs, restaurants, airports, train stations, that sort of thing. If you're interested in checking out Surfshark, then don't forget to use my promo code HighPeakAutos, and you'll get yourself an even better deal. If you sign up with my promo code, you'll get an extra 3 months totally free. All you need to do is visit surfshark.deals/HighPeakAutos, or alternatively, click the link below in the video description. It's as easy as that. So thanks Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Right, back to the hows and whys then of the AMG GT. I love this particular stretch of road. I did a launch control here in a brand new Lamborghini Urus which belonged to a mate of mine when it was about 2 days old. Anyway, this stretch of road always reminds me, him sat in the passenger seat egging me on to go faster and faster. So there I was, starting to feel more confident about myself, feeling better, looking better, getting more compliments. This all sounds quite shallow, but the next thing I was thinking of was, what else will cheer me up? I know, a silly material purchase. And that's exactly what I went out and did. Now the funny thing was, well I say funny, it was a bit more stressful than funny. I was buying a flat at the time, but it was taking ages. I was about 3 months into the purchase. It eventually took about 10 months or 11 months. But I had the money there in my savings account for this flat. And I spoke to my solicitor and he said, Matt, it's going to be another 6 months at least before we can complete. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll dip into that account. I'll buy a 500 horsepower mid-engined car like this. And then hopefully by the time we complete, I'll have put the money back and no one will be any the wiser. That would have been nice if it worked out like that, but it didn't. What actually happened was about 3 weeks before I was due to complete, my solicitor called me to say, right, make sure you got the funds in place, we're completing on the 1st. So I thought, okay, I'm really sure what I'm going to do now because I've got a slight problem on my hands. After panicking like mad, I managed to get the money back in the account and nobody was any the wiser. Problem solved. Sometimes, you know, I think I just make my life difficult on purpose. I don't really know why I do it. Saying that, if life was easy, you'd be bored, and I quite like the thrill. The reason I bought the AMG GT in particular is that I'd always liked it. I'd always fancied one. Ever since I set eyes on one back in 2015, I thought, one day I'm going to have one of those cars. Even, you know, a couple of years before I bought this, I was at Mercedes World in Surrey, and they had one there upstairs in the AMG division. This is a bit sort of fateful, really, and I don't really believe in that kind of thing, but I posted a picture of that car and said something like, I wonder how long it'll be before somebody part exchanges one of these with me. Anyway, 2 years later, I had one sitting in my driveway. But I'd always craved one. It's such a sexy car. In my opinion, it's one of the sexiest cars ever designed. This sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it's got all the right curves in all the right places. You look out over this long, imposing bonnet, then you look in your side mirrors and see the wide arches at the back. It's just so theatrical. And that's before we even talk about the way it drives, handles, or sounds. It's a Mark Featherstone design, this, who I've actually spoken to and complimented several times. I just love it. It turns so many heads and you rarely see them. That's what I really like about it. It's unique. This isn't like an Audi R8. Drive into any city centre and you'll see 10 of them, I guarantee. But I'll be very surprised if you see another AMG GT. Of all my options, and believe me, I looked at them all, 911s, Lexus LCs, BMW i8s, the AMG GT just seemed like the most interesting option, and it seemed like the most acceptable. It seemed like the most me. I specifically wanted the GTS as well. Now they do a GT, a GTS, and a GTR. Now the GTR was way more expensive and it's too hardcore. The GT I just thought would be a little bit soft, whereas the GTS I think is the Goldilocks AMG. So this has things like race mode. You ready for this? I really shouldn't be doing this when it's snowy and icy outside. It's a bit much, I'll be honest, but I love it. And to be honest, I've really enjoyed owning it and driving it. I've been everywhere in it. Paris, London, Skelmersdale. I think I've done about 6,000 or 7,000 miles in it as well. It's just about to hit 27,958, and I bought it with 21 on, I think. So yeah, best part of 7,000 miles. And it's been completely reliable and completely fault-free. It's needed some maintenance here and there, a recall at Mercedes, but that's been about it. It isn't ridiculous to run either. The tax is quite low, it isn't in the highest bracket. Fuel economy isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. The servicing costs haven't been silly, so it really hasn't broken the bank. It has truly been everything that I'd hoped it'd be, and more. I just feel like now it's served its purpose. Thankfully, I'm at a point now where I don't need a material thing to feel happy. Sorry if this is a bit soppy, it's all a bit Hallmark card, isn't it? But I've got to explain how and why. I've just got no real place for it anymore, and I hardly use it. Most days it just sits there languishing in my garage, which is a bit of a shame. There is another reason for me wanting to sell this car though. Unfortunately, as always, that issue is money, or lack of. Cash flow is always an issue when you're running your own business, and I'm currently trying to complete on 2 properties, and I need every last penny I've got. And this AMG is the dearest thing I've got, the dearest thing that I own outright, so it's got to go. That's why this is for sale, and also my Jaguar XKR convertible, that's for sale as well. I just need every last penny. There's no point me selling my white Range Rover because I'm a bit upside down with that one. It's riddled with neg-ac. I don't even think the fire brigade could get me out of that one. So I may as well keep that, keep paying the payments, and then try and sell everything else. And all the other cars in my collection, they're of no value really. You know, an 02 Range Rover, an 06 Range Rover, an 01 Mercedes ML. They're not worth an awful lot of money. So I've got to sell the dearest things. So I think that's about it. That's why, sadly, it's got to go. Now, I've spoken to my friends over at ALX Specialist Cars up in Ripon. I did a showroom tour at their place recently, and they're going to sell it on my behalf. I just think they'd be much better placed to sell something like this rather than me at Romley Garage. This isn't exactly my stock profile. Take this week, for example, I've sold a 2011 Peugeot 3008, I've sold a 2012 Nissan Juke, a 2013 Nissan Juke, and a 2016 Nissan Leaf. That's more me. I don't really know anything about this market, so I thought I'd leave it to the experts, leave it to the specialists. I'm heading up to Yorkshire now to drop it off with them, and I need to get these thoughts of keeping it out of my head. I've just been and filled the tank, and when I was walking back to it, I thought, I shouldn't be selling this really. Look how pretty it is. Anyway, I've done it now, had one, been there, got the t-shirt, move on. As they say in Spain, ya está. Hemos terminado. That's it, we're done. I've even taken my plate off it, so there really is no going back now. That is it. End of an era. I can't help but feel a bit sad, but on the bright side, it's now somebody else's turn to enjoy it. Hopefully it does to them everything it's done to me. And as much as I could use the money right now, don't get me wrong, I really don't regret buying it at all. I was in quite a weird place when I bought it, and I don't mean Derby, by the way. I was in quite a weird place, mentally, I guess. And the purchase of this car was a bit of a turning point for me. It made me feel better about myself, artificially, and I've had some fun with it. So, no regrets. So yeah, I think that's about it. Make sure you check out ALX Cars, because this will be featured on the website very soon. They've always got interesting cars there, so I'll leave the link below in the video description. I spend many hours looking on their website, daydreaming. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.